say, are you comfortable?
And that would be to make sure that I'm looking at your eyes and your right eye looks different than your left eye. What is
And good afternoon once again, everyone. We'll keep going with some of our media availability here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and now joined by Danica Patrick, driver of the number 7 GoDaddy.com Chevrolet, who obviously made some history here last year in the NASCAR Nationwide Series race, finishing 4th, the highest finishing female ever in NASCAR National Series history. Before we take some questions for Danica, though, I understand you've got some things you'd like to talk about first off the top.
Well, I think that we just wanted to lead it off and let you guys know that obviously the last time we were here was a big weekend and a sad weekend, and to just say that, you know, thoughts are still with Susie and the kids, Weldon that is, and that there won't be a time that I come to Las Vegas and I won't think about Dan and I won't think about the family, and hope that they're doing well.
Okay. Thank you, Danica, for that. We'll go ahead and take some questions for Danica. As usual, we've got the wireless mics around, and we'll bring them to you if you give us your name and affiliation before you'd ask. We'll go ahead and start off here with Mike Massaro first.
Danica, just picking up with what you just said, it's hard for any of us to imagine what it must be like to get on the racetrack today. What was it like?
As race car drivers, our job is to drive the race car, and you know, we need to be able to do that with our whole heart and mind. So you know, I went out there and drove just like any other day, but I think that it's in the moments where you don't have a singular focus, like walking up to the media center here today and seeing the neon garage and kind of the atmosphere that was here on that weekend, and where we were pitted and the things that we were around, and the sights that you saw, where you can have time to sort of think about multiple things that it gets to you. And as you know, as I walked up today, I said to Haley that it reminds me so much of being here for the IndyCar weekend, just with the garage area and walking up to the media center. And so you're reminded in those moments.
Okay, we'll come up here over to Bob Pockers, please, and Mike, and then to Dean McNulty.
Bob Pockers, Sedalia. Were you reminded about things while in the car and on the track and seeing things, or are you able to put it out of your head once you're in the car and practicing?
I don't think it completely escapes you, but for the most part, you know, you're able to have something to focus on, one thing to focus on, and so I feel that I'm able to do that when I'm out on the racetrack, which is probably a really good thing, because you know, especially when you're trying to get the car to its very limit, you need to be able to focus on that one thing. But as I said, the thoughts outside of the car and being around, being in the surroundings are when you remember so much.
Mark Anderson, Las Vegas Free Journal. Do you think once you get past this weekend that in the future, maybe it won't stick with you as much, that the first trip back is just going to be the hardest?
No, as I said, well, I think time is a healer for sure. But there won't be a time that I come here that I won't think of it. And all of the things that I did that week of the race, all of the different things, whether it was driving up and down the strip in our race cars, or going to certain restaurants, or being at the track and seeing certain things around us. You know, I think it will never completely escape, and that's what tragedy will do to you.
Dean McNulty, Toronto Sun. Getting in a NASCAR, a stock car, with, you know, the roof on top, obviously, and all the safety innovations that have been put in those cars since 2001. Is that a sort of reassurance to you as you come back here to Las Vegas?
Sure, I think anytime that you have things surrounding you and, you know, especially with the likelihood of being able to, you know, climb wheels in Indy cars, it's not, that kind of thing doesn't happen in stock cars. So, you know, kind of what made that accident so big is something that really doesn't happen in these cars. So, you know, when you get side by side with somebody, and if you get a little too close and bump each other, that you're just going to bump each other, and that's pretty much the extent of it. So, there's definitely some peace in that, and there's definitely a level of bravery that these cars give. You know, me as a driver, being in them and having a lot around you.
Go to Claire, then to Brad, then over here in the back.
Celebrity Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. It's good that we never forget, and we shouldn't ever move on, and that's cool. But I do want to ask, flashing to today and this race as we move ahead, that do you feel that there is a lot of pressure on you right now, given the last few weekends, and that's really hard, or do you feel that? Because I know you've had conversations with Elliott Sadler, I know your crew chief spoke with you, and I just kind of wonder where you're at moving into this weekend.
Yeah, I know I said that things don't get to me at Daytona a lot, and I think things don't get to me for the most part, but I definitely feel like I want to do well for so many people. I think that I gave myself maybe a little bit of false expectation about running this year for the championship, and probably using those words for the championship. It's really still my first ever full year, and what I've done still doesn't add up to 1 year, and I didn't have anything before that at all in stock cars. So I think I need to remind myself every now and again of really where the expectation level should be and where mine should be, and I can't let all of the exposure and hype and hope, I'm serious when I say hope, to do well, I can't let that be something that makes me feel like I have to do well. And I think that got to me a little bit, and especially coming from Daytona and having such, you know, disappointing results, whatever happened or didn't happen on the track, it was just, I get attached to the results for sure. I mean, part of that is my job to get good results, so sometimes I dwell on that a little bit too much, and I need to remember that there are so many of these darn races, and you just need to move on. But I think that just the length of Daytona and the demands both in the car and especially outside of the car, I think got me wore down, and I think that and then it also got to me that, you know, everybody wants to see me do well, and I want to do well for them. I want the people in the stands that are holding my flags and wearing my t-shirts and hats, I want them to have a good reason to cheer. And I think I let that get to me a little bit.
We have a whole bunch
That's right, we were at that time.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Carl, for waiting. Carl Edwards has joined us. He drives the number 99 Aflac Ford for Roush Fenway Racing. Carl, you're coming to the place where you won last year in 2011, and that's got to make you feel good. You've always had good runs here at Las Vegas.
I was just thinking last time I was here it was great. So, you know, sitting here, we love coming here. This is a fun racetrack. It's, you know, it's a fast 1.5 miles. The pavement, you know, is such that you can slide the car around a little bit. It's got some bumps. It's got some character, and I really like it. Our Aflac Fusion was really fast in practice. I feel like we've got a good shot at the pole here later this afternoon, and tomorrow we'll find out about race trim. But, you know, we're just having fun out here. We went over to the Air Force Base this morning, and General O'Shaughnessy gave us a tour, and we got to see all the red flag stuff that they're doing out there, which is really neat, and got a tour of a couple of really neat airplanes. So it's just been a good trip so far.
Good. Carl is available for questions now. If you have one, raise your hand. Who's got a question?